Hello friends, welcome to the world of Chhuti Presents Escape into Audio Stories in English. We will read stories primarily of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Southeast Asian origin and in English language. We'll try to read in neutral accent as much as possible and with our best attempts. We will focus on literature for kids and children. Today we are going to read Letters from a Father to His Daughter by Jawaharlal Nehru. Letter 17. The patriarch becomes the king. The old patriarch has taken up a lot of our time, has he not? We shall finish with him soon, or rather, he will change his name. I started by promising to tell you how kings came and what they were. And in order to understand kings, one has to go right back to the patriarchs. You must have guessed that these patriarchs became later on kings or Raja or Maharaja. The word patriarch comes from the Latin pater or father. He was the leader and father of his tribe or people. Patria, which means fatherland or one's own country, comes from the same Latin word. You know that in French it is patrie. In Sanskrit and Hindi, we think of our country as the mother or motherland, Matribhumi, the motherland. Which do you prefer? When the patriarch's office became hereditary, that is, son succeeded father, there was little difference between him and a king. He developed into a king, and the king got the strange notion that everything in the country belonged to him. He thought he was the country. A famous French king once said, "The state, it is I, or I am the state." Kings forgot that they were really chosen by people in order to organize and distribute the food and other things of the country among the people. They forgot that they were chosen because they were supposed to be the cleverest and the most experienced persons in the tribe or country. They imagined that they were the masters and all the other people in the country their servants. As a matter of fact, they were the servants of the country. Later on, you will see when you read history that kings became so conceited that they thought that the people had nothing to do with choosing them. It was God Himself, they said, that had made them kings. They called this the divine right of kings. For long years, they mischieved like this and lived in great pomp and luxury with their people starved. But at last, the common people could not bear it any longer, and in some countries, they drove out their kings. You will read all about this later, how the people of England rose against their King Charles I and defeated him and even put him to death, how the people of France had a great revolution and decided to have no more kings. You will remember that we visited the Conciergerie prison in Paris. Were you with us then? In this prison were kept the members of the king's family, his wife, Marie Antoinette, and others. We will also read about the great Russian Revolution when people of Russia only a few years ago drove out their king, who was called the Tsar. So, kings have had their day, and most countries have no kings. France and Germany and Russia and Switzerland and the countries of America and China and many other countries have no kings. They are publics, that is, the common people choose their governors and leaders from time to time. These governors and leaders are not hereditary. In England, as you know, there is still a king, but he has no power. He can do very little. All the power belongs to the parliament, where the chosen leaders of the people sit. You will remember seeing the parliament in London. In India, we have still many Rajas and Maharajas and Nawabs. You see them going about with fine clothes, in expensive motor cars, and spending a lot of money on themselves. Where do they get all this money from? They get it in taxes from the people. The taxes are given so that the money may be used to help all the people in the country by making schools and hospitals and libraries and museums and good roads and many other things for the good of the people. But our Rajas and Maharajas still think, as the French king did of old, the state is, it is I, and they spend the money of the people on their own pleasures. While they live in luxury, their people who work hard and give them the money starve, and their children have no schools to go to. Letter 18. The early civilizations. We have said enough about patriarchs and kings for the time being. Let us now go back a little and consider the early civilizations and the kind of people who lived in those days. We do not know very much about these early peoples, but we know much more about them than the Paleolithic and Neolithic man. We have got even now huge buildings in ruins which were built thousands of years ago. And looking at these buildings and temples and palaces, we can form some idea of what the early people were like and what they did. Especially helpful to us are the sculptures and carvings in those old buildings. From these sculptures, we can find out sometimes that what kind of dress they used to wear and many other things. We cannot say definitely where men first settled down and developed a civilization. Some people say that there was a great country, which they now call Atlantis, in the Atlantic Ocean. In this country, it is said, people lived and were highly civilized, but the whole country somehow or other was swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean, and no part of it remains. We have no proof of this, only stories, so we can leave this out and did not consider it. Then again, we are told by some people that there were great civilizations in old times in America. You know that Columbus is supposed to have discovered America, but this does not mean that America was not there before Columbus came. It simply means that the people of Europe did not know of it till Columbus found out for them. Long before Columbus went there, people lived there and had some kind of civilization. We find ruins of very old buildings in Yucatan, which is in Mexico in North America, and in Peru in South America. We can certainly say, therefore, that in Peru and Yucatan, civilized people lived in very early times, but we cannot say much more about them, as we do not know much at present. Perhaps we may find out many more facts about them later. In Eurasia, as Europe and Asia together are called, the earliest civilizations were probably in Mesopotamia, Egypt, Crete, India and China. Egypt is now considered to be in Africa, but we may consider it with Eurasia as it is very near. When the old tribes which used to wander about wanted to settle down, what kind of place would they choose? It must be a place where they could get their food easily, and their food was partly grown in the fields of agriculture. For agriculture, water is very necessary. Without water, the fields dry up and nothing can be grown in them. You know that when there is not enough rain during the monsoon in India, little food is grown and there is a famine. The poor get nothing to eat and starve, so water is essential. The early settlers must therefore have chosen places to live in where there was plenty of water. We find that this was so. In Mesopotamia, they settled down between the two great rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. In Egypt, they had the great Nile. In India, most of their cities were near the big rivers, the Indus, the Ganges, the Jamuna. Water was so necessary for them that they looked upon those rivers which gave them food and abundance as sacred and holy. In Egypt, they called the Nile Father Nile and worshipped it. In India, you know that Ganges was worshipped and is still considered holy. It is called Mother Ganges, Ganga Mai. And you hear pilgrims shout out, Ganga Mai ki Jai. It is quite easy to understand this worship, as these rivers meant so much to them. They gave them not only water but fine mud and sand, which made the fields rich and fertile. Because of the river water and mud, the land gave plenty of food. So the rivers might well be called father and mother. But people have a habit of forgetting why they do things. Unthinkingly, they go on copying others. We must remember that the Nile and the Ganges are considered holy because they give water and food. Hello friends, you are listening to Letters from a Father to His Daughter by Jawaharlal Nehru. Please tune into Chhuti Presents Escape into Audio Stories for other episodes. Till then, goodbye and stay in touch.